Can Black people build a sustainable capitalist framework outside of white supremacy? Is capitalism our only path to economic self determination and self sufficiency? And if it's not, what economic system should we embrace as a liberatory practice? I'm glad you asked because we are talking about it after the break.
Brokers, welcome to another episode of Brokish, where we talk about the unbelievable ish this country has done to keep us broke. Now here are your hosts, Amber and Erika.
Hello, brokers. I'm Amber.
And I'm Erika.
And today we're talking about Black capitalism.
Erika, what is up with the nails and
put the balloons up and your sound effects. You our favorite Black capitalist. I thought she was about to have the
wow. The person who left her job to go get low-level wages while earning a PhD. I'm your favorite capitalist girl. You need to get a better class of people to root for because it ain't me.
She moving bricks, y'all. That bitch got some money.
Wow. Wow. And Amber, I'm mad at the questions you asked at the beginning. A sustainable capitalism? What the hell is a sustainable capitalism?
Do not be acting like
that's not even a real thing.
The propaganda don't be telling us that all we need to do is work harder. And all we need to do is create tax incentives so that everybody can prosper. You know that is all we need to do.
But Amber, I'm just like, are those our questions though that we ask the people? This episode sponsored by John Hope Bryant? What?
Well, first of all, is there a good question to ask about capitalism? I mean, like, what was I supposed to say? Is capitalism shit or is it not shit? Like, I mean, there really was no good questions to ask, So I'm trying to be open.
I just want the people to not think that we think that there's a sustainable capitalism, because what the hell is that?
Well, we was hoping they'd listen to the whole show and came away with that as a takeaway. But if you want to give it away, that is true. We do not.
If I want to give it away.
We do not. But before we talk about,
what have you been up to besides writing questions?
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sad to report.
Uh-oh. What happened, girl?
I'm going back to work on Monday.
Oh, God is good. Look, God is good, and so is your wig. You ready?
Listen, I feel like the kids for first day of school. I don't want to got my nails done. I don't want to got me some bundles, baby, because I don't want to go back to work. But I'm gonna take me a little picture in front of the door, like like the little children with my water bottle in my lunchbox in my work bag. But yes, I'm going back to work.
I'm proud of you. So whenever I do start a new job, I do get a new briefcase, backpack, whatever my thing is. Did you get a new work bag too?
So I did not get a new work bag, but when I cleaned out my closet, I found several very nice bags that I had never carried before. So basically I got a new bag.
Wow. What is it like to be so rich that you just have all these new things in your closet and you just clean up and find them?
Let me tell y'all what the real story is. I have a big laundry basket that I keep all my wigs in. And I found 2 bags when I moved my bundle bag. There was 2 bags behind there that I had kind of forgot about because my wig bag had gotten like really big. And so I have in Black Power, because it's a little Telfar bag, that I'm, carrying.
Well, we support Black capitalism. So.
The jokes write themselves. So yes,
right.
I am definitely going back to work with a Telfar bag I forgot I had that was behind my wig box. So yeah.
Okay, Black business, and that's what we're talking about today, Amber. So I love that for you. I love that you showing us that we need to support Black people starting businesses, and you doing that with Telfar. Amazing.
Yes. So what have you been doing? What is going on in your world?
Girl, I'm glad these kids are back in school because then life just is really easier. Them being institutionalized really does make my life easier. I cannot lie to you. And I am really over here struggling, Amber, with this perimenopause weight. When I tell you I have seen new highs on my scale, I've seen numbers on my scale I haven't seen since I was pregnant. And reader, she is not pregnant. I just feel like no matter what I do, nothing matters. I'm working out every day. I don't eat crazy things all the time. Like, I'm just frustrated and literally at a loss, but not at a loss.
The capitalist mothers have told you what you need to do. You don't want to do it. Auntie Oprah, cousin Serena, even Minister Candace Bimbo. You need to get you some GLP-1 shots. And
well, nobody would give me GLP-1 shots. That's the thing. Like, even if I'm sorry. No doctor.
My doctor would.
Who wants to keep their license would give me GLP-1 shots. Now, don't ask me how I know that, but just trust me when I tell you that. So, yeah, that's what it is. You tell me I need to go to the internet and get me some.
I got a plug. Or you could just go to Mexico. Just get on you a flight. Cash in some of them points, or go to Tijuana and do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Okay?
Wow.
You should have told me while I was on the cruise. I could have got you some in Cozumel when we got off. I could have got you some at the pharmacy.
Wow. I come to tell you that I'm having trouble because of these hormones and all this stuff going up and down. And you tell me, you sending me to Mexico for medicine. Okay, got it.
What do you think the capitalistic medical system here in the United States is going to take your hormonal issues seriously and actually create a medical plan that addresses
You
it?
said you had a holistic doctor. You ain't gave me the name of your holistic doctor.
I told you the holistic doctor told me I was in perimenopause, and she put me on some vitamins, sis. She put me on some vitamins.
But what I'm saying is you didn't even tell me the holistic doctor's name.
I put it in the chat like 3 times. I have put her name in the chat like 3 different times.
I never seen that.
I'm gonna find it, and you're gonna cash out me $20 for trying to embarrass me.
Well, anyway, this is what I am struggling. I mean, besides the dissertation, right? I did actually dissertation update. I know nobody cares, but I'm gonna give the update anyway because it's our show, so we can do that.
Exactly.
So I had been doing my data analysis and all that kind of stuff, and then I talked to some friends, and they were like, "You need to write. You need to put some words down on the paper." And I was like, "Okay, fair." So I wrote chapter 1, which then after writing chapter 1, which is the introduction chapter, everybody was like, "You wrote the introduction? We always do that last." And I was like, okay, didn't nobody tell me that when I wrote mine first, but whatever. And I sent it to the man, and he didn't give me no feedback except like on the format, which I didn't even format it properly because I wasn't asking for formatting feedback. And so now I'm a little irritated because he didn't
maybe that's a good sign that he didn't have any substantive critique.
No. What professor ain't never had no substantive critique or some made up critique? Anyway, it's fine. And I'm moving on to chapter 2. So I am feeling better now that I got some words on the page. I said all that to say that I do feel better now that I got words on the page. And I've also started working on the quantitative piece. So I'm feeling less worried, still not unworried and unbothered, but feeling less worried. So yeah.
I mean, and as a part-time homeopathic hood doctor, I suspect that your baby fat will go away once the stress of writing your dissertation goes away.
Well, maybe. I hope so. And I also hope that I can be able to get me a job because capitalism and get me out of this house, because I have been in this house mostly, even before the pandemic, I worked from home a lot. So I have been in this house without being out for a very long time. And I'm ready to go. I am ready
to. I love my house. Oof.
You have not been stuck in it for several years. So I also love being at home, but uncle, I've had enough.
Okay. I feel you. All right. Well, we're going to be lifting you up in prayer because the dissertation is going to come together, and it's going to go from a dissertation to a book, to a bestseller, to all the things
to the point at which I forget that I know you. Yes.
I mean, I already know you're going to be brand new. I already know. But guess what? When 2020 come calling, hello.
That's crazy.
Okay. Black capitalism. what's the show they used to have that they paid all the people for the tell-alls on the celebrities? What was that? Not
I don't know.
TMZ, before TMZ. Anyway, you better
Yeah.
be glad they went bankrupt.
But Amber, you were telling us about how excited you were about your Telfar bags because Telfar is a Black-owned company,
It is.
and how proud you were to be a Black woman supporting another Black business. So, how does that relate to what we're here to talk about today?
Oh, that was like the messiest setup of all time. But we're really here today to sort of interrogate what Black capitalism is, why it is so
What it ain't?
what it ain't, right? And why it is so problematic, and how it oftentimes leads us down roads that actually place us further away from liberation than closer to liberation. And I think that some of the things that have been happening um, in our society over the last few weeks really help us to illustrate how, no matter what you do or how far you climb in the system, there is always a ceiling for Black people that is substantially lower, obviously, than the ceiling for white people. Um, and I think it's just a reminder that this shit is just like inherently destructive. Like, there are going to be billionaires who are going to be clinging to money and dying because, like, you cannot ever have enough money to build another ozone layer. Like, and so I think that when we sort of distill that down to the Black microcosm, it becomes even more apparent how violent Black capitalism is, how it is not a sustainable path to ownership, and how it's not a real sustainable path to liberation either. And I think there's two examples that we want to highlight today to really make that point clear.
Okay. And y'all know that a lot of the points that or all the points that we're talking about this season, we're doing it sort of through the lens of Malcolm X and some things that good brother Malcolm, good minister Malcolm, things he said and things that we think he might have thought about these things. And so if we look at Malcolm X in terms of his views on capitalism, I think with a lot of us, or maybe I can just speak for myself, his views have changed. His views changed over time, right? So over his life course, they were different. And so if we use Kayendi's book, Nobody Can Give You Freedom, and some of the quotes from that book, and just in the way that Kayendi is framing Malcolm X and his political program, one of the quotes from the book is, while in the Nation of Islam, Malcolm preached the party line and tied the morally uplifting message to a responsibility to build community wealth. In 1959, he rallied against the amount of money that Black people spent on whiskey. And it's interesting that he said whiskey, or that it was about whiskey in New York, quoting a figure of $60 million annually. Malcolm reasoned that if you have $60 million, you can build a factory that employed every Negro from here to Harlem to the Hudson River. So that's what Malcolm thought about that at the time, right? And so I was reading that and reading in the book, and it feels like he's very pro-Black business, right? He's very, look at this Black buying power, right? So Black people have this $60 million and y'all are essentially throwing your money away when you could be employing all of these other Negroes. And so according to Kayendi and according to other people, Malcolm's earlier views on money were tied to his relationship to the Nation of Islam. So y'all know, or for people who've had any exposure into the Nation of Islam, you know, the Nation of Islam is about their money. They're gonna be they about a lot of things, but they about their money. And so you can see really those capitalist ties and sort of this idea of creating this Black microcosm of capitalism that can thrive coming from the Nation of Islam. And this is also the rhetoric that I hear at least a lot from Black people and also from people like John Hope Bryant, right? And we also know that Jared Ball wrote the book, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, to dispel all these ideas, because we know that the notion of buying power is a farce. And we also know that this idea that we're going to be able to decouple ourselves from capitalism is really silly. So what we do know about Malcolm as he changed, he very clearly was an anti-capitalist, right? So you can't be an anti-capitalist and then also be a proponent of Black capitalism. I think a lot of us want that, but
Yes.
that is just something like how do we reconcile that? I don't know, because you can't really do that. And so I think that it's clear that Malcolm did not believe that capitalism was a liberatory practice or practice that could get us to where we want to be. But I do think that he still felt like the need of Black economic independence in as much as we could have it. Like, I don't know if
Commerce.
it's true.
Black commerce.
Okay. Okay. Black commerce. And so another quote from the book comes because I think that Malcolm understood this idea that Black capitalism can't exist in this vacuum when he goes, can the American Negro really become economically independent, control his economy simply by controlling the retail stores in his community? Who would control the warehouses from which he would buy his goods? And for me, that is the key to Black capitalism. That is where all of these arguments about Black capitalism fall apart, because people are like, if we just have our own what? Have our own sources of water, have our own sources of electricity, have our own sources of energy. Like, the idea that we can sort of create our own in capitalism, to me, is really silly. Especially, let's just talk about the current climate of tariffs. I think people that I never knew what a tariff was, everybody sort of understands in the ethos what a tariff is. And what tariffs help you to understand is that you are connected to somebody else, right? And you and those other people have the ability to assess taxes on each other. So you're all exerting your power on each other. And I'm just like, y'all, we can't have Black capitalism that's not tied to and hooks into white capitalism. And then is it independent ultimately? So I will be quiet.
I will also say that point, I don't think that's unique to capitalism, the interconnectedness of it. What I think is unique and particularly harmful, and I think what things like tariffs illuminate about the problems inside of capitalism, is that unlike other economic systems, capitalism necessarily requires a stratification or a hierarchy, right?
For sure.
It necessarily requires it. Like, that is an essential ingredient of capitalism, is a hierarchy. And so, I don't think it's about, because a lot of times when you hear people having conversations about Black capitalism, the aspiration or the ultimate goal you hear them espousing is this goal for an economic independence. And I don't think that is just possible in any system, really, in a globalized world. And I don't think that's what we need to be aspiring to. I think what we need to be aspiring to is to create a system where exploitation and hierarchy are not necessary ingredients that drive the economic engine. And that is really the primary flaw with capitalism. And I think that a lot of the issue is that you have Black people coming together and saying, oh, we can do it ourselves. We can do it on our own. All we need to do is keep our money inside of our community. That is not capitalism. That is commerce. And commerce literally is as old as time. If you believe the Bible, when Cain and Abel were switching fruit for sheep, that's commerce. And you can have a system of commerce where you have a bargain for exchange of goods between people or between entities under a lot of different umbrellas. And I think the problem is that most people have been propagandized to believe that you need capitalism to have commerce. And I think a lot of people have been propagandized to believe that you can somehow make capitalism righteous by choosing who you engage in commerce with. And you cannot.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, and even to the point of hierarchy, the foundation of capitalism, we know, like you said, right, is exploitation. And so hierarchy is one form of exploitation that can come out of capitalism, right? Like, it's a shapeshifter. So capitalism does what it needs to do to be able to get what it needs to get to flourish. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. And I do think that we are, and I don't know why, but I do feel like, and it could just be a feeling, we are especially susceptible to these messages of what we could eventually do if X, Y, and Z. And that's the part I think that makes the conversation that we're about to have so sad to me, is because I think that there is a lot of commodification of culture that happens for Black capitalism in particular, because a lot of Black capitalists, whether knowingly or unknowingly, are preying on and exploiting our culture and our Blackness as a form of support for them. And so, as of the time that we're recording this, who knows if, it's not going to be news anymore, because the news cycles are very short. But there's a lot of conversation going around about Uncle Nearest and Fawn Weaver, who is the CEO of Uncle Nearest. And I don't know the names of all the companies, right? Because she's the CEO of this, that's a holding company for this. And we just going to call it Uncle Nearest and keep it easy. Okay.
Yes.
So Fawn Weaver. And I want to start off by saying that I don't know Fawn Weaver. I don't have no beef with Fawn Weaver. I mean, didn't they just when she one of the new honorary deltas they made? I'm not going to hold that against that lady. Like the lady making the decision she making. I have no beef with Fawn Weaver. Okay. So it is not our intent to drag Black people down. It is our intent to make light of what I'm sure is a very serious situation. If I'm Fawn Weaver, right, this is probably the most serious situations I've had to face in terms of my business and all of those things. So that's not our intent. We're just, because people are talking about it, we're talking about it and sort of using it to help illustrate the ideas that we have. So first, let's give some background on Fawn Weaver. And y'all, I got these glasses on. I told y'all I got my progressives, but then I don't, anyway, it's hard. So I'm looking down, I'm trying to see. We don't know. I'm just working with, this is old lady problems, right? I'm getting thick and I can't see good. So this is what, Amber, you don't have, what?
That baby says she getting thick. Oh, girl, keep going. That was funny.
Anyway, so Uncle Nearest is the fastest growing whiskey brand in the US and was founded by Black woman Fawn Weaver. The brand has only been around since 2017. So this is like a new business, honestly. Yes. And was as recently as last year, Forbes was calling the brand a unicorn. And for those who don't know, like in the startup world, a unicorn is a business with $1 billion valuation. And now Forbes is reporting that Uncle Nearest finds itself in a situation where they are under a receivership for defaulting on what Forbes says is $108 million in loans. $108 million is a lot. Like, it's a lot of money, like just period. Okay. So they're saying that they defaulted on that much money in loans. And so Fawn named the brand after the formerly enslaved man who taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. And his name was Nearest Green. And we don't know if the story is that Jack Daniels, I think, actually paid him for the recipe or to show him what to do. But I don't know. Like, did he pay him? Did he not pay him? I don't know what the thing is. But anyway, Nearest Green is purported to have taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey. And so one of the things that Fawn's, because when I first heard, I was like, she named her company after somebody else's relative, like that, not like she was a descendant of Nearest Green. And apparently she did. But in capitalist fashion, Fawn Weaver is like, oh, well, we're going to have a foundation, the Nearest Green Foundation. And what we're going to do is we're going to give scholarships to the descendants of Nearest Green. So this lady then created a whole liquor company that is valued at over $1 billion. And she's offering scholarships to college to the descendants of that man. So just hold on to that little piece of information.
That's the most capitalist part of the story.
Amber, I mean, if that ain't, look, I was gonna wait, but while we can start now. Now, Amber, how do you feel about this lady first naming her company after somebody that, like, at least Beyonce, like, oh, that was my uncle so and so, or that was my granny so-and-so. But Vaughn say, I don't have to be related to these Negroes to name my company after them. What we think about it?
And no remuneration at all. Scholarships. I mean, listen, I will say that I feel like it is the most capitalist part of the story. I feel like that is right on brand, that is right on target, and I I'm not shocked by it. I think it's funny as hell, but yes, that is just right on brand. To community service people as reparations for stealing their family legacy. Like that shit is hilarious.
To tax write-off people, because I'm doing it as a foundation. Like, I'm giving y'all scholarships and I'm getting a tax write-off for doing so because I'm giving y'all this money through my foundation. And we're laughing about it, but honestly, I feel like if white people had done this, we would be outraged. Like, when white people name their brands after Black people, we're outraged. Like, how could y'all?
Are we though? Because it took us a long time to get outraged about that shit. And then even when
we are now though. So
well,
I don't know how long. Like, we're outraged when we hear these stories. If Fawn Weaver were a white woman and told us that she'd have named her brand Uncle Nearest, we would be like,
yes, that's true. That's true.
And we let Fawn do it and give the descendants some scholarships. And also, in fairness, I just said we weren't gonna drag this lady, and I don't mean to do that. I'm just telling the story. But they did say that a couple of the descendants actually work for Fawn.
So do they? I didn't know that.
Yes, she hired a couple of them. So a couple of them have jobs at the company. I'm not gonna say nothing else about that.
Okay.
But so when all this news came out, because of course this was a big deal, when the news came out, then Fawn took to her social media because she's like, y'all know I really can't do too much. I'm under a gag order because we love a good legal facade. So like, let me hide behind this one. I love it too, Fawn. I'm not mad at you. But Fawn got on social media and she said, let me be clear. I built this company. I own this company. I run this company. Okay. That's what Fawn said on Instagram. And Amber, here's another one of the problems I have with this whole idea of Black capitalism and the commodification of culture is that Fawn is telling me that she owns this company. She runs this company. But then Fawn told me in her next breath that I need to clear the shelves. But wait, Fawn, why, if you own the company, Fawn, why I got to clear the shelves? I'm confused because you're not even offering me the scholarships. Like, I don't get any benefit. So please help us to understand, Amber.
Well, here's the thing that I think is interesting about I own the company, I run the company. If you look at the legal pleadings in the case, Fawn admits to the allegations made by the bank. Like, there's no dispute that they borrowed the money, and there is no dispute that Uncle Nearest overstated significantly how much inventory they were in possession of that was supposed to be used. Oh, okay. As
no, I'm saying Fawn was saying that man did it though.
Yes, the COO, she did.
Right.
That is what she said. But newsflash, second day of law school, you learn agency. If he did it in his capacity as an employee, Uncle Nearest did it. But that was the part that I thought was very interesting, that there really is no dispute except as to the fact that she is saying that they are not on the same page about the repayment schedule and the repayment terms. And so I do think it's very interesting to sort of come to a place of making a public statement rooted in ownership when you essentially given all of your inventory away as collateral on a loan that you don't dispute in terms of the amount. And so that's another thing about capitalism. It's constantly gaslighting us. It's constantly forcing us to accept things that just don't make any sense, because the definition of collateral is literally giving your unsecured creditor a priority place in line if you don't pay them back to claim ownership of whatever you are offering as collateral. And so to me, that was the most dystopian part of the statement. Not so much her, talking about her historical creation of the company, but like there is literally a dispute about ownership right now because the bank is saying that they have a superior interest in the collateral because you have not complied with the terms, and so they should own it. And so I don't know. It was kind of hard for me to listen because I just felt like there was a better way to go about it. She could have just said nothing. And in my opinion, I think that would have been the better path to go down.
I think it's always good to just sit down, shut up, and eat your food. Like, and Fawn could have done that. But by doing this, to me, again, she is highlighting all of the problems. Like you said, so first about Ron, I run this company. Fawn, if you run the company, then why are you saying that the person that, again, like you said, Amber, that used to work for you, they were the cause of the problem? Well, do you run the company or do they run the company? Like, who is really running the company? Because if I'm running the company, there's no dispute about what that person is doing because I'm running them too. Like essentially what it.
Yeah. And you are responsible for what your employees do when you run a company. That's literally the definition of employment.
You are, but she's like trying to remove herself, take that responsibility away from herself, right? Like, but at the same time, reinforcing that she is indeed responsible. So which one is it? I don't know. Okay. Yes. And then to the point of ownership, yes. And that's what I keep saying about Black capitalism. Fawn has to go get her money from white people. Fawn, and baby, there's not but 10 Black people in the United States, maybe, that could help Fawn with $100 million in loans. Like, and 10 is being generous because all y'all don't have this. Y'all also are beholden to your creditors and can't do. Maybe it's 2 or 3 of y'all.
And there's a difference between being a paper billionaire and having liquid cash.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like maybe it's 2 or 3 of y'all. So y'all have to get your money. We all have to get our money from white capital because white capital is the only capital that there is. Like, because we don't have no damn capital. Right. And so we're looking to Fawn like, oh my God. And it is, again, I'm not even trying to be funny. I do not want to discount what that lady did in terms of building a business in such a short amount of time, getting the brand recognition that she has. Like, I do not want to discount that at all. But she cannot do that in a vacuum. She has to connect herself to white people and white capital in order to be able to make that thing go, or she would not be where she is. Like, full stop.
And I think that this is part of the problem that I had with the statement. The biggest part is that statement was to us, to our community. You know, Fawn got on there talking about what the devil meant for evil. She was talking to Black people.
Oh, for sure.
She was talking to Black people. And I think that's the biggest objection I have to it, is because these narratives that come out when things like this happen reinforce the righteousness of Black capitalism. Because I think what people heard is Fawn resisting an attack, right? She presented herself as a Black woman, a victim of a system that she has been willfully complicit in. And to me, that is
proudly.
Yes, that is the biggest danger of capitalism, is that when it threatens to swallow up people who are stakeholders in the means of production, and I'm not even going to call her an owner because she's not an owner, they always put pressure on the exploited classes to rescue them. Take what you already don't have enough of,
clear the shelves,
and go buy some more liquor. And that to me was the biggest problem. And then the second problem I have is
before you go on from that, I just want to make it clear too. You talked about the violence of capitalism at the beginning, and I think that it is violent in the ways that people use culture against us. I think that it is harmful that we take on this burden of, you have to support her. That's a Black woman. How can you not? Telfar needs your money. Fawn needs your money. You have to clear the shelves. And I think that is harmful in ways that I think it's difficult for us to then be able to see all the dangers that are out there, because we're so tied to this idea of we have to support other Black people, but we don't have to support them in their capitalist efforts, y'all. Like, we can support Black people without supporting them there. And I do think that that is, to me, like a very big danger that we need to try to like overcome.
Yes, that was excuse me, the second point that I was just about to make. That part of what I lament about this is that when these stories come out, we take a very protective stance about, well, don't talk about fun. Like I was telling Erica before we pressed record that I had seen a discourse online on, what is it called, Threads now, between Candice Benbow and Demetria Lucas, a cultural critic, basically talking about how they were intentionally, and I'm using their language, keeping it cute in how they reported about Fawn, so as not to appear to be attacking her or bringing her down or saying anything that would create a difficult time for her, because usually Black women, when they go through difficulties, are always the first to be dragged. And while I think there is some truth in that part, like
Sure.
this society is very difficult on Black women and creates very unfair expectations for us, I think part of the thing that keeps us in this capitalistic stronghold is that we do not have the courage to critique our own when they engage in the same predatory practices as white people. And so
I don't even think we see them as predatory. I don't even think
that's true.
we even know to call it that.
That's true. I would
Because
agree with that
again,
100%.
the shit that Fawn is doing, if Fawn were white, we would be like, that's some that's some bullshit. But with Fawn, it's like, that's a businesswoman.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? That's why it is so important, y'all. And this just came to me. That is why it's so important for us to recognize and identify the ways that we are socialized and messaged in society to accept this. In the places where we, like what Fawn is doing to people, saying, "Oh, I'm in a pickle, go out and buy all the whiskey." Like, that's literally the same stuff that happens to us in church. Give, give, give. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to recognize the ways that capitalism has invaded all that we hold to be sacred, and to rebuff the attempt to normalize that just because it is Black people doing it, right? And I think that it is hard for us to recognize it because we have become so accustomed to it in so many ways inside of our community. And we call it so much. We call it building up Black people. We calling it, supporting the work of the Lord. We put so many names on it that by the time we realize that this is actually capitalism, it is too late, and we are all sunk and we have nothing to show for it. Because how you looking at people who are robbing Peter to pay Paul and telling them that it is now their responsibility, while you still have the $108, mind you, because that's what the whole loan is
8
about,
million.
108 million, and telling them that if they want to be helpful to you, that they need to take their money and go buy more whiskey. Like, that to me is diabolical.
And it's also like, again, I don't drink whiskey, but it's not a lot of tequila that that I'm not familiar with. But the point is, like, and we willing to die on the sword of liquor? Like, even when back to the quote at the beginning when Malcolm X was talking about, he was like, y'all buying whiskey, and that's what we're doing here. Y'all, we know that alcohol is a carcinogen. We know that alcohol causes all manner of illness, disease, dysfunction in individuals and families and communities. And we fighting over the lady that's selling us more of it. Like, be so for real.
Okay, Pebbles Muhammad, let me find out. You've been down to the mosque. Okay.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And I'm just like, y'all know that the main one of the main things Black people complain about is, y'all know in our neighborhoods all we have is the strip club and the payday loan and the liquor store. And we be mad about a liquor store, but we not mad at Fawn because Fawn is stocking the shelves that she asking us to clear down to the liquor store.
Yeah, yeah. And I also just want to say that one of the features of capitalism as well, of course, this should go without saying, but I don't think it does, is that whatever it does to white businesses, white owners, white capitalism, it does to us to a much more extreme and harmful
And
extent.
much more quickly.
And much more quickly, because I will say that just as somebody with legal training, reading these pleadings and reading the requests from the bank to appoint a receiver, I was not surprised by that request. I think that is a very common request, that unsecured, which means that if you, well, technically they became an unsecured creditor by default because there wasn't no damn whiskey to put as collateral. But that is a very common request. I will say, though, that I was surprised that the court granted the request, because this is not a habit or a pattern. It would seem that most of the issues are not in dispute. There is no allegation that I'm aware of that the company is being negligently ran or negligently directed. And I just wonder and speculate that if
Well,
Fawn
is that
Weaver's
true?
name.
Is that true, Amber? I mean, just from the little bit that I saw about, they're basically saying y'all don't have what y'all say y'all have. I mean, isn't
That's
that
that's
negligent?
that's fraud. That's not negligence. You
Okay,
can be a
sorry.
very well-run company. You can be competent and fraudulent. Like, fraud is about
Okay,
integrity.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
negligence is
Okay.
about competence. So I guess the point I'm making is, I think that if Fawn Weaver's name was like John Ross and she was like a straight white man, I wonder if, giving this set of facts, if a receiver would have been appointed. And it is hard for me to believe that the race of the owner,
Well,
that the fact that this is
sure.
a black company, did not play a whole lot into the subconscious background of having a receiver appointed, it particularly this early.
Hmm.
Because
A nigga with $108 million over.
yes, and
Are
I
you
and I will
kidding me?
tell you, because even if the judge was inclined to do it, I mean, they could have gone through the process of conducting discovery first, exchanging basic documents, and if there would have been documents that said, look, based on the documents we've gotten from the company, we have these concerns, and now we are re-urging our request in light of a factual record to appoint a receiver. That would have been much more common, but just based on the face of the first pleading is actually wild a little bit. And it just feels very racial.
Well, yeah, because it's racial capitalism. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
so 100%. Vaughn knows she can't be running around. So this is the other thing that we get caught up in, because we think that we are working on a new level. We think that capitalism is working on a new level, and it's not. You can't be black and think that you finna get these people for $108 million, and ain't nobody finna come after you. Like, the rules are not the same, boo boo.
There will never be an American Greed episode about that.
Right?
Nipped in the bud.
You cannot do that. And so that's the silly thing too. But to the point that you said Candace and Demetria were
Yeah.
talking about in terms of keeping it cute with our conversations, I want a black culture that is not tied into capitalism. I don't know why we feel our culture has to be supported by capitalism in the ways that we do. And all the things like you were saying, if it's buy black, if it's do it for the culture. I want I want a culture that is not sustained and rooted in capitalism, or really, for that matter, any economic structure. Like, I just don't think that should be the base of the culture. And in this country, that is essentially what it's boiled down to. Like, now the cultural connections that we have are all financial and capitalist in nature, and not rooted and grounded in anything else. And I think that is very sad.
Yeah. I also think that it is difficult for us to have a conversation about why we feel compelled to protect people who are harmful to us, without also telling the truth that there are a lot of Black people who don't really want liberation or revolution. They just want to be the person doing
Right.
the harm. And I I think that is really the part of it that honestly grieves me the most, is that we have been raised up in this world to aspire to be harmful to each other, and to, be willing to protect people who are actively engaged in harmful practices, because we want to one day sit at the same table with them and partake in doing and peddling in the harmful practices as well.
And I think that there is certainly a class of people like that. But in the case of these ladies that you mentioned, and I don't know them either, right? I've just seen them on social media. I don't even feel like that's where their motivation to say those things come from. I really think that we get socialized to believe that we have this responsibility just to protect anything and everybody Black under whatever circumstances, and that we don't even have to stop and think about, let's just start at the naming of the ladies company. Let's just think about what, like, just go back to the origin story. Like, because because Black people have been harmed in so many ways, and so we're like, we've got to protect ourselves, and in protecting ourselves, we don't interrogate the harms that other people are doing, because I don't even think they want to be a part of some capitalist class. Those ladies you mentioned, I don't even think that that's what they want. I think that it's just like, we got to protect our own, even when they're hurting us, even when they're killing us, even when they're whatever-ing us. And that's the part that's also very sad.
Yeah.
But just because I put some numbers down and I don't want to waste my time, I'm going to share them with everybody. So some stats about Black businesses, because why not? So according to Pew Research, Black people own 3.2% of the businesses that actually classify themselves as where they're classified as having an owner by race. And out of those 3.2% of companies that we own, we generate 1.2% of the revenues. So 3.2% of the businesses and 1.2% of the revenues. Now, if you're interested about white people, 84.4% of the companies and 91.6% of the revenues. So, and they're only 60% of the population, and we're 14% of the population. So I'm sure y'all can see the disparities that exist. But that's interesting. Those statistics are interesting to me for a number of ways. It just reinforces how whiteness always wins, right? Like, they're gonna have fewer businesses, but baby, we gonna make more money with them. Let me tell you about that. And then also, in just looking at some of the other races, not that it's not true that the other racial categories have more businesses than Black people, but at the end of the day, white people giving us all the crumbs and making us fight for them. Because if you look at the number of Asian businesses and Hispanic businesses and Black businesses and add them all together, baby, they still walking away with more than 90% of the profits. But they're pitting us against each other. Like,
over
why
1%.
do the Asians have? Yeah, why do the Asians have all the businesses and and it's like, we need to all be pointing back to them, baby. They're all taking advantage of us, because guess who? And so that part was really interesting to me. And then according to Brookings, they had a statistic that, or not a statistic, but a note that even if Black business ownership continued to grow at the rate that it did in 2021, which was the largest percentage increase since 2017, Black-owned businesses would still not reach parity with their population share. So getting to that 14% for another 80 years. So
for the Brookings Institute to say that, I just want to also just highlight the source. I mean, there's no friend to Black people. So it's probably even worse than that if that's what Brookings says it is. Like, just to be clear.
Wow. So yeah, I'm just like, I get why Black people go to Black business. Many of us go to business ownership because we had such a hard time in private industry and we're trying to forge a way. So when they do studies on Black businesses and talk to Black business owners, that is one of the number one reasons why people start to own a business, is because I had no other options. And so I had to turn to or I had to try to create my own, right? Because I wasn't able to get a job on the private market or even with the government. And so I get why we go out and do that. And again, to your point of commerce, I'm not at all suggesting that we should not go out and do that there aren't things that we have to sell, services that we have to provide, and that we shouldn't get money for doing those things. But the point is all of this crossover between I own and I run, but now I need you to clear my shelves because that's your responsibility. And that's the part where it all breaks down for me, in addition to the fact that we can't have businesses. Fawn can't have her business if the state of Tennessee tells her she don't have access to water. Her business is all water. Fawn can't have her business if the state of Tennessee comes through with eminent domain and says those more than 400 acres that you own, we're going to come through with the highway. She can't do what she does if government and capital don't allow her to do that. And so, y'all, we not independent. These are not independent Black businesses, and we got to stop thinking that they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to stop thinking that the only way we can engage in commerce is under this umbrella, because that is not true. And I think it's important for us to recognize that we have to walk and chew gum when it comes to this issue. There is nothing wrong with supporting Black businesses. There is nothing wrong with patronizing businesses in your community or spending money intentionally with people who look like you. What the problem is, though, is thinking A, that the only way you can do that is in capitalism, and B, that that is a means to make us more free. It is not. It is not. And I also think that we have to be willing to do some of the heavy lifting and becoming more educated and stop. I saw a meme the other day and it was tickled. He's like, how your mom and dad call every gaming console a Nintendo?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing that capitalists do to every other economic system. They just call it socialism just to make you, feel uneasy or feel angst about it. We have got to really do the work to learn what a socialist framework looks like and why it is fundamentally different and why it is not the same thing as communism, right? Because all of us, even in this society,
It's nothing wrong with communism, though. Just side note.
no, it's nothing wrong with communism in the book. There's something wrong with communism the way white people did it in practice.
Well, you could say that about everything.
Of course, but I'm just saying, I'm saying that because of what people think about. I'm saying that the actual examples, the real life examples we've had of communism that people are most familiar with are problematic because of how they were walked out. I'm not saying that the communism in the book is a problem, but what people think about when they think about communism, like bread lines and torn clothes, that is not the same as socialism. Because we have socialism in the United States, we just have it for rich white people. That's it. And so that's all I'm saying. And I just feel like we have got to do a better job of being empowered and understanding how to advocate for ourselves and embrace systems that are actually helpful to us and not being entrenched in really just becoming like an overseer in a system where at the end of the day we're still a slave.
Yes. And I'm also just, I'm not even thinking about other other economic forms that we could develop. I'm just thinking about, we're here today living under capitalism, right? So I'm not at this point, I think we should for sure, but I'm just saying today, I'm not even talking about imagining new things. I'm just saying, how do we exist in the system that we're in now? And I think that there are a few things that we just need to do. And one of those things is stop with this cultural imperative of support for Black people who own businesses without regard for anything that's happening with those businesses, who those people are, just on the strength of Blackness. It's not enough. Like, we have to be more critical of the things that we're supporting. And we also have to stop. I would even want us to stop letting people just throw Blackness around and just say, like, I want people to stop using that as a point of entry into business and for my support. Like, you shouldn't just be able to do that. Like, you got to show me more than that. And I want us to require people to show us more. It's like, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, they can't just show up and be like for me, they can't just show up and be like, I'm a man. Okay. Like, that's not enough. Like, you have got to show me the other stuff. And we just let people show up and be like, I'm Black. Okay. And where do we go from here? And that's really the part for me. I love supporting a Black business just like everybody else. love it, want to do it whenever I can. But y'all, I don't owe you nothing. And I'm sick of them thinking that I owe them something. Because I don't. Just because we both like I don't owe you nothing.
Well, I
And
don't owe
so
you that. I don't owe you that. I don't owe you
yes,
support of your capitalistic enterprise.
yes, exactly.
I don't owe you that.
Yes. I
Yes.
owe you something as yes,
Yes, as
absolutely.
community members, but I don't owe you support of your capitalist endeavors. I don't owe you that.
No. And stop trying to make me feel like I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that's all I had to say, child. I don't know. We didn't even talk about okay, can we spend like 2 minutes talking about Target? We didn't even talk about Target 1 second.
Yeah, child, let's talk about Target. Yeah.
Target not a black business, as we all know. But Target is also in the news because their CEO is stepping down.
Stepping up,
And
honey. Stepping up.
we're not talking about whatever golden parachute this man is getting, but the CEO is stepping down. And this is the part about Target that black people, y'all get on my nerves because my social media was full of people going, it's been weeks. Like we told y'all the boycott was working. They're looking at Target stock prices. Niggas who ain't never looked at stock prices in their life. And all of a sudden they like, ooh, Target stock prices don't own not one share of Target stock. Right? Everybody's invested now. Look at Target following the boycott is working. And here's the thing. I love a group activity. I do. I make fun of Amber and her t-shirts, but I love when people get together and do dumb shit like wearing t-shirts alike, when they get together and say, we gonna do this together for the benefit of so and so. I love a group project. I'm not that girl that don't like it. I love it. So when y'all say y'all want to boycott Target, even though the Target boycott was started by Jamal Bryant, who again, very unserious character. So we have this very unserious character starting a boycott, and he started it on the first day of Lent, which is what are we even doing here? Like, how does Lent coincide with the boycott? I don't even know. And at first it's supposed to be 40 days, but now it's been like 175 days of a boycott. And everybody is so pleased, like downfall to Target. And my question is this, Amber. Let's say that we're able to bring Target down and Target closes its doors. How did the Target boycott and the coming down of Target, how did that benefit Black people in any material way? I just want to know, what is our purpose here?
Let me tell you, I just had this conversation with somebody. I would have really given my props to Jamal Bryant if once the stock started to come down, he would have came back out and told Black people, go buy that damn stock. And then let's start taking our ass back to the store. And so we can make some money. Like we don't even, we be
missing. Now you sound like Boyce Watkins.
No, we be missing the low-hanging fruit.
Stop, Amber, stop.
I'm just saying we be missing the low-hanging fruit. But seriously, I feel like the thing
we didn't have a whole show, and then Amber comes back at the end and says, y'all should have bought Target stock when it was low.
Listen, we living in this system, but no, seriously. What I was about to say is the biggest LOL about this is that you got Black people flexing about boycotting Target as a liberatory practice while they are rerouting their funds to Amazon and Walmart. And to me, that is just
the gag. That's the gag.
That's the gag of it all, is that you got Black people in the name of liberation shopping at Walmart and Amazon. What in the actual hell? Like, it would have literally been a better strategy to drive the price of the stock down and tell Black people to go buy it and make some money than to be like, as an act of Black liberation, don't go to Target, go to Walmart. Like, you can't even say that without laughing. You can't even say that without laughing.
And I can't. And here's the thing, again, to the point the ladies were made about keeping it cute. I don't want to talk about Black people who are, because I think for a lot of people, their motives are in the right place, right? Like they really want to be part of something. And this boycott kind of felt like something, right? It felt like we're all coming together to do this collective thing. There's a collective action. But the problem is, y'all, that action started out of Target is saying we're eliminating our DEI programs that we have, right? And the thing is, for most of us as Black people, those Target DEI programs don't benefit us, except for them commodifying our culture by putting it Juneteenth shirts in the stores. When do we need Juneteenth shirts and plates? And so it's like,
that are made
I,
with child labor.
yeah, I would be more excited about us if we said we want to boycott Target because they're not paying their employees enough. Or we're going to boycott Walmart because they're the largest employer of people on Snap. Like, let's boycott people for stuff like that. But for DEI, and then for us to be applauding all these things, Target stock is falling, the sea is stepping down. But what does that do for us collectively? Like, honestly, I want to understand what this does for us, because absolutely your point is, people just, it's not like the Montgomery bus boycotts, y'all. It's not like that. Like, those people were able to have this collective pressure because it was one small place. They all got together and says, we're going to have community support. We're going to have mutual aid to be able to get people to where they're going. They didn't go support the other ways that white people was doing transportation.
They didn't go sit in a segregated taxi to boycott the segregated bus. That's why I said, like, shit, at least by this time, I'm telling y'all, like, at least Black
Amber,
people.
quit with the stock. Quit with the stock, Amber.
Okay, fine. What I'm saying, though, is we're walking away from this with nothing to show for it. Having put the same amount of money into the same unjust economic system, but doing it in, and I would have this argument any day that Walmart and Amazon are way more terrible than Target. And that is a hill I would die on, that the Walton family are perpetrators of violence. Like, if we just even talked about the amount of wage theft Walmart has been guilty of in the last 10 years. Just 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like,
yes.
Are we kidding right now? Like, to me, it's like, LOL, all the LOLs.
And look, again, y'all, if we gonna take the people down, I'm with you, Amber. Let's take the people down that have hurt us the most, because I will tell you this. I can go to Target right now and tell them people I want one pack of gum. And I will pull up to that Target, and then people will hand me that one pack of gum in my car.
With a smile on their face.
And I'm telling you, and when the pandemic came, then people were so clutch. Y'all not gonna make me hate them. But Walmart has done things to me as a shopper that it's easy for y'all. And this is not a Walmart versus Target, better, worse. My question is legitimately, what is the aim? Because if we take Target down, what happens? Like, how are we made better for it? And in the same way, if we prop up Fawn, how are we made better for it? And that's what I want us to look at in all of these things. We are talking about collectively what is better for Black people as a community. How are we made better? And Fawn not doing it and Target not doing it. And I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. So, Amber, and I know it's going to be some people on YouTube, and it's going to be some people that's listening that's going to totally misunderstand.
Oh, yeah, we finna
Amber was serious. She was serious about that stock, though. But
hell yeah. Listen.
Amber, don't do it.
I'm just saying, if you want to hurt some white people, take ownership of their shit.
They never going to let you have it. But that's neither here nor there. What homework do you have for the people? Do you have homework for the people or no? So, because we're back in school.
Yes, we are. There's two parts of the homework. First of all, catch up. And second of all, we're going to do a vocab quiz on the internet next week. But I just want everybody to go get yourself a working definition of what capitalism means, what socialism means, and what communism means. And what commerce means as well. 4 words. Capitalism, socialism, communism, and commerce. And then we're going to have a vocabulary quiz, because at least from this point forward, when you hear these words thrown around in the media or thrown at you to make you have emotional responses, you can be very clear on what we're talking about. So get your index cards ready for the vocab.
Okay. So y'all know we are a people built by community. So I think if Malcolm spoke to us about supporting each other in our business endeavors, ain't nothing wrong with that. But despite that, we have to be careful not to put too much on the idea of capitalism as liberation, because it can't do that. Capitalism requires exploitation. So even when the people are Black, the exploitation is inevitable. We have to employ a radical imagination that will free us up to think about the ways to have community care and mutual aid that don't require capitalism and the harm that's built into that model. Liberation is a group project, and we can't get there if we use the tactics of the enemy. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to catching up with you on the next episode of Brokish.
All right, good people. Thanks for listening to Brokish. For more episodes, visit us at brokish.com or subscribe, and Brokish will get direct deposited into your favorite podcast app on the 1st and 15th. Share Brokish with your friends and join the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Music for Brokish is Come Get Some by Blank and Kit. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.